Britain's political landscape is undergoing seismic shifts barely 6 months into Keir Starmer's premiership. What was meant to be a new era of stable leadership has rapidly descended into internal chaos, policy confusion, and collapsing public confidence. This isn't just standard political turbulence. We're witnessing the early stages of an unprecedented governmental crisis that could redefine British politics for years to come. The evidence is mounting from multiple directions simultaneously. Senior Labour councillors are abandoning ship in disgust. Downing Street insiders describe a rudderless administration where the Prime Minister fails to grasp basic realities. Critical policy initiatives are backfiring spectacularly. And most alarmingly, legal experts warn that Starmer's signature legislation could trigger a constitutional crisis. This video will expose the full scale of Labour's disintegration while analysing what it means for Britain's future. If you value unfiltered political analysis, subscribe now for regular updates. Let's begin with a grassroots rebellion that should terrify Labour strategists. In Bombshell, a traditional Labour stronghold, 3 veteran councillors recently resigned in protest, including Sandra Peake, who served the party for 30 years. Their departure isn't about local disagreements but fundamental objections to Starmer's leadership direction. These aren't fringe activists but core supporters who helped build Labour's local presence over decades. Their resignations highlight Starmer's widening credibility gap. They specifically cited Labour's abandonment of WASPy women and inadequate response to the post office scandal, 2 issues where moral leadership was expected. The councillors didn't defect to other parties but became independent, demonstrating their disillusionment is personal to Starmer's leadership rather than ideological. This grassroots revolt coincides with devastating internal criticism. Senior Downing Street sources recently told The Telegraph that Starmer operates like an HR manager rather than a prime minister. The anonymous official compared him to a passenger mistakenly believing he's driving an automated train, a brutal metaphor suggesting real power lies elsewhere. These revelations expose a dangerous leadership vacuum. With Britain facing economic stagnation, rising crime and NHS crises, the country needs decisive leadership. Instead, we have a Prime Minister described by his own team as preoccupied with process over vision. The comparison to Tony Blair's tightly controlled administration is stark. Where Blair dominated his government, Starmer appears controlled by his. The situation deteriorates further when examining Starmer's international posturing. Amid domestic crises, he recently attended a Ukraine summit in Paris, discussing potential European peacekeeping forces. While supporting Ukraine is vital, the timing reeks of distraction politics. French President Macron openly discussed scenarios where European troops could engage Russian forces, a significant escalation commitment that Starmer endorsed without apparent scrutiny. This foreign policy gambit highlights Starmer's fundamental weakness. Leaders secure in domestic authority can project strength abroad. Starmer's eagerness for international visibility while his government unravels at home suggests a leader prioritizing optics over governance. The summit's focus on long-term security frameworks contrasts sharply with urgent domestic issues like inflation and healthcare backlogs demanding immediate attention. The communications meltdown confirms systemic dysfunction. Starmer's director of communications, Matthew Doyle, resigned abruptly after failing to establish any coherent government narrative. His replacement by 2 spin doctors, James Lyons and Steph Driver, signals panic, not strategy. When a government needs multiple communications chiefs simultaneously, it's clearly struggling to define its purpose. Labour's policy agenda now risks triggering legal catastrophe. The controversial Planning and Infrastructure Bill includes provisions allowing compulsory land purchases at current rather than potential value. Legal experts warn this could prompt mass litigation from farmers and landowners facing substantial financial losses. The policy contrasts unfavorably with international norms. Even India's land acquisition framework offers fairer compensation. This perfect storm of crises reveals Starmer's fundamental miscalculation. He assumed Labour's election victory represented enthusiasm for his leadership rather than exhaustion with the Conservatives. Without a clear mandate or compelling vision, his government is floundering. The councillor resignations show grassroots disconnection. The internal leaks expose leadership deficiencies. The policy chaos demonstrates governmental incompetence. Britain deserves better than this. The country faces generational challenges requiring bold, coherent leadership. Instead, We have a prime minister described by his own team as out of his depth, pursuing policies that may prove unconstitutional, while struggling to communicate basic principles. The coming months will determine whether Starmer can regain control or if Labour's majority will evaporate through by-election defeats and collapsing morale. The warning signs are undeniable. Plummeting poll numbers, senior resignations, policy disasters, legal time bombs. This isn't ordinary political difficulty but systemic failure. Starmer promised competent centrist governance but delivers only chaos and confusion. Unless something changes dramatically, history may remember this as one of Britain's shortest-lived and least effective governments. If you found this analysis insightful, subscribe for more unflinching political coverage. The next 12 months will prove decisive for Starmer's premiership. Will he recover or become another political casualty? Only time will tell, but the odds are shortening daily.